She's asking, have you heard from Christine? I don't know what she thinks. She's asking, have you heard from Christine? Say no.
Who's this?
No one.
All right,
Okay.
so let's start. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. To our viewers, thank you so much for joining in on this afternoon's uh, community conversation, Glow with the Flow, a Caribbean entrepreneur's candle journey. We have with us this afternoon our host or facilitator, Christine Bartlett Josie, and she is gonna um, lead us into discussion with Annya White-Brown. So sit back, relax, and please, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will try to get through all the questions. Again, please share this discussion as it's happening right now with friends and family. Continue to like and share on our YouTube page. All right. Christine, I take it over. I hand everything over to you.
Thank you, Craig. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this community conversation. I'm Christine Bartlett Josie, St. Lucian, and a member of JAG. And just a brief thing about myself, I've been living in Connecticut for 30 years now, and I run my own business. It's a political consultancy business, but this is not about me today. I want to talk to Annie White-Brown, who is the lovely owner of Natural Annie Essentials, Candle Bar, and Event Space. So, Annie, let's start with a little bit
Yes.
about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on this evening. About me, Annie, born and raised in Jamaica, I moved here to Connecticut back in 2006. It's been ages ago. Where I currently live with my family. I have two children, my husband, and we own and operate Natural Annie Essentials Candle Bar and Event Space right here in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
So, one of the things I think when I read about you, I was thinking, candles. So I don't know about you, but growing up on St. Lucia, and my family moved to New York, Brooklyn in
Mhm.
1980, but I'm thinking about even going back home, back and forth. But growing up, candles were just about hurricane season, right? Making sure
Yep.
you had candles ready if the lights went out,
Hmm.
birthday candles, but it was never scented candles. It was never a luxury. It was always a necessity.
Yes.
So it's just very interesting to me that where did your idea come from, creating a candle bar?
And just like you, growing up in Jamaica, we never had scented candles. I don't recall a day we ever did. But my journey didn't actually even start out with candles. In 2014, I had my first daughter. Her name is Stephanie. And after she was born with a condition called spina bifida and hydrocephalus. And she had a number of surgeries at birth, and that had caused a severe skin breakout for her.
Mm.
And when prescribed medication didn't work, I kind of just went back to my roots. I grew up in Jamaica with my grandparents. So I was very familiar with the herbs and the oils and what bush to use for this and that. So kind of, and my grandparents, they were here with me at that time too. So we kind of just went back to what we were familiar with. So I was now blending the essential oils with the raw shea butter and the castor oil, the olive oil. And it was through that formulation that we got healing for her skin. So first time mom, super excited that this worked.
That's
I
yeah.
was now just I was now just making all the things at home. I was throwing out soap. I was making my own soap, my own body butter, my own skincare products. So that's how I started the formulation process. And I was making so much at one point where it was just three of us living here at that time. We couldn't consume it all. So I was now
Mm.
sharing it with friends and family. And when I tell you I really got into this, I went back to school. I got my certification in aromatherapy. So now I was using all these essential oils because although they're natural products, if you're still not using them correctly, you could cause more harm than good. So making all these things, I was doing little make and take parties in my backyard where my friends would come over, we're sipping wine, making body scrubs. And we were just having fun. And a friend of mine, I was making a face scrub at that time. Um, and she fell in love with it so much that it was actually helping her skin. And she wanted more of this scrub. And I gave her, I'm like, it's simple, make this. But she didn't like that part of it. She wanted the finished product. And I enjoyed the production part of it. So she said, you know what, you should put a label on this and start selling it. So that's how I tested it. I said, all right, let's try this. I opened my first little Etsy shop. Um, so at that point I was doing the skincare, bath and body products. So I was doing my little Etsy shop. And then when strangers on the internet just started buying this stuff and rebuying it, that was confirmation for me that yeah, you're probably onto something here. So it started out with bath and body skincare, and then a few years in, after doing a market, customers were just asking for candles in the sense of the bath and body products that we had. So naturally, we tried it. That very night, we were coming from a show. That show was in Brooklyn, actually, me and my husband. And he said, you know what, we should try it. I was a little hesitant at first because we were already making so much stuff in the house. It's like, where are we going to put more stuff? But we tried it. And within 6 months of, perfecting the candle, and we introduced it to our then customers, they loved it. And that's all they started to buy, pure candles. Like, it was as if they just dropped the bath and body products and candles is what it is. So that's how we ended up in the candle making space.
So interesting you tell me that, because I'm thinking as a woman entrepreneur and a woman business owner, it's usually there's so many pitfalls, right? So for example, I've owned my business for 12 years, it's going to be 12 years. Political consultancy, which is very different. But when I first started, I wasn't getting as much, even though I was successful. I mean, I know this, I grew up in politics, I did many campaign schools, understood what has to happen, read everything, attended everything, word of mouth, clients. My business didn't double until, unfortunately, I have an absolutely amazing partner, but, Patrick is white. He recognized my value and said, listen, let's do this together because we both, we both have strengths and we could double what we're making instead of doing this individually. So I know some of the pitfalls that I've had because, again, as a Black woman, there is this hesitancy, and even more so with Black politicians. I tend not to have an issue with white politicians. That always annoys me because the white politicians don't even question my fees. They do not. They do never. They just, oh, I mean, I've even had a couple of them saying, that's it,
Yeah.
you know? So have you, like, as a Black woman in this space and with your products, how has your what's your customer base and how has that been?
So I have a pretty solid 50-50 split with my customer base now.
Okay.
But like yourself, I did have a lot of those situations where people would come up to me at pop-up shops and just randomly say, hey, I love this candle. How much is it? And I go, at the time it was $20. I was like, oh, $20 for a candle? Oh no. But they would still walk down the aisle and buy the same, if not a more expensive candle from a white person.
Mhm.
But at that point, I didn't care less. At that point, I was doing my thing. I knew at that point what set me apart. And I wanted for people to, when they shop from me, to know that, hey, I'm getting not just a pretty product, but you're getting a quality product that when you go home, it's going to be very different from the one that you're going to buy in the store that just burns right through. And you'll see that. So I ignored it. really, as I grew. But in the beginning, I faced a lot of that kind of setback, and it is annoying. It's really annoying, but it's a part of it, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went from home, right? Making your products
Mhm.
at home. What was that transition like to having a brick and mortar space?
Um, so we moved actually. So between 2014 through 2020, I was working out of my home, my kitchen, my basement, my garage. It was in 2020 that our business skyrocketed, right in the midst of COVID.
With
Yeah, because everybody was home, everybody was now slowing down, everybody was burning their candles, and just trying to enjoy home and relax and be comfortable. So we did tremendous during COVID. So we that's when we finally locked in on the space that we're in currently in that building. It was a quick and rough transition because everything was just happening so fast.
mm,
We've never done those numbers that we did in before COVID, and it was still a very small team. It was literally me, my mom, my husband, and two other family friends that were helping us, and we were still so far behind. But the space really helped us to ramp up our production and get more people in, staying in the confines of COVID's restrictions even then.
wow.
But we made it happen, and that's when we started to break out a bit more. So COVID really, I would say COVID took us out of the garage.
Very good. So tell me, so it's an event space, right? It says Candle Barn event space. So
Yes.
what are your activities? Let's, tell us more about.
Yeah. So what we do current day, natural and essential. So we still have the candle component where we sell our candles online through our website. But now that we have the space after COVID, um, online sales started to go down
Okay.
because people were naturally out and about now. They After being locked down, not seeing people for so long, people wanted to go out. They wanted to do things and be around other people. So we had the space at that point, and when online sales, kind of went down, we had to find something else to keep us afloat. So we had our production tables, and we joined forces. We had two of them at the time. We joined them. We were able to we got 10 chairs. So we hosted our very first candle making experience in January 15th of 2022. Um, we introduced that to the community. The first one was sold out, packed 10 people in the candle in our production center, and we did it. And we just kept on asking people, hey, are you enjoying this? They did, and they kept on coming back. So that's how the candle bar component came about. And since September of last year, we moved into a bigger space downstairs that kind of opened up the space for more, for us to do more. So if we're not having candle making parties, we also rent out the space, so people can come in and host their own events.
What's your location exactly?
So we're at 1313 Connecticut Avenue in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And is that just a standalone building? Are there other spaces in there?
Yeah, so it's an industrial building with more businesses in that building.
I'm trying to picture it.
I think it was an old Salvation Army right on the border of Stratford and
But
Bridgeport. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, are there any questions? I'm not quite sure how. All right.
You mean from the you
What?
mean from the chat? Oh.
No, what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated? My daughters. I have
Yeah.
two. I have two, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. They keep me busy, and they like nice things, and mommy like to provide. So they keep me motivated. And just to have them, they're always at the studio with us as a family-owned business. We're always together, and just to be able to see them in my space of work and have them see mom and dad work for a better future for them, that keeps me going always.
All right, so I'm just going to get back to like the real business aspects and end of that. So, many of us, when you try out, like for me, running my political consultants business, I don't need to have a space, right? I mean, I meet people where they are, meet in offices. There's co-collaborative spaces throughout the state, New Haven, Bridgeport, Hartford. So you could simply rent a space, rent a conference room, pay minimal amount and you co-collaborative working areas and
Yeah.
space. Um, but I found that in talking to others who have to actually rent spaces, how at times it could be difficult. And even in running a small business, getting any funding for that. How did you navigate that? Are there any pitfalls? Did you get a loan from a bank, a credit union? What was that like?
Nope. We have not been able to successfully lock in any funding. So all of what we do and all of that we're able to accomplish has mostly been through just what we make, we're putting it back into the business. And that's how we have grown over the years. There are fundings out there for small businesses. Are they easy to get? Not really. There's so many hoops, like there are a number of grants out there, but the amount of things that you have to submit to half of these grants, by the time you kind of get to the end, it's like you're not even qualified anymore. So there's a lot of that. But I think current day things may be looking a little better, a little easier access. It's conversations I've been having with not just fellow business owners, but in speaking to some of these lending organizations, making it like ask for realistic things. Like you can't ask a small business owner for a gazillion things and give them 1 week to provide all of that. It's not going to happen because this is one person running marketing, sales, finance, the whole bit. And now we're going to have to do funding, grants and all that stuff. It's not feasible for most small business owners. And I'm really hoping they start to see that.
So in terms of like there's that, but how about traditional lending institutions, but basically a bank? So even with that, has there been an you rephrase that question, have you even was there ever a need for you to go to that traditional
No.
place?
No.
Okay. So in business, let's ask you another, what is a business pet peeve of yours?
People not being able to communicate effectively. I see a lot of times like you're trying to put together, it could be an event or a company will reach out to you and you provide all this information to them. And if it's not going to work, they never kind of come back and say, all right, this is not going to work. This was happening or not. It's just left open in the air. So a lot of times you find yourself as a small business owner chasing these companies to get back to you. It's apparently a part of it, but that's one of my big pet peeves.
Communication.
Yeah.
Communication. It's one of mine too. If I find myself at certain times, okay, you run around for office, you come, we strategize, I write an entire plan, take your time, and then you hear crickets.
Yeah.
And that is one of mine completely.
And another one for me is, because as small business owners, we do look to other small business owners to get advice oftentimes. And a lot of times people will reach out and say, hey, can I pick your brain? I can't tell you how many times people have picked my brain. And then you follow up with them. Not that I needed to follow up, but you follow up with them and say, hey, how's it going? How are things moving along? And they have done nothing with the information that you've shared. So as a result, I've stopped with the picking up the brain situations.
Yeah, it's always that. I think I changed my structure of billing based on that. I am not giving you free advice.
No.
I've earned it. It's been 20 years and my advice is valuable, so I stopped giving free advice.
Yeah.
So can you tell me some of the events that you've hosted?
Oh, so we've done, so we have our regular weekly candle making experiences that we host those on Fridays at 6. We have 3 sessions on Saturdays, 12, 3, and 6. And then we have one on Sundays at 1 o'clock. But outside of that, we do have special events. 2 very quick ones coming up is our 420 event. We have a 420 puff and pour candle making experience. So people who enjoy participating in cannabis, they come out, they make their candles, they have a time. We're also having a Mother's Day brunch that's coming up. So after our candle making, we'll go into a vibe brunch experience to wrap up that evening. But outside of that, we host like events that we host at the candle bars, mostly like bridal showers, birthday parties. We've been doing a lot of baby showers too. And just like teen events and also corporate events. We do a lot of team building activities.
Right.
Usually see those during the week.
Right. So in your lovely business, how do you come up with the creative, names and ideas? How do you decide on how do you decide any of it? Right.
So our very first collection, our signature candle collection, those scents were all inspired by the island. So scents that stood out significantly to me from Jamaica. That's how we came up with our very first. So most of those scents are either very, very floral, fruity. You have the very fruity or those very herbal scents. We also have a collection that we've called it Yard Collection because we do have a large Jamaican following. And that collection is really more so like a souvenir type thing. And it's outlined, it just names all the parishes. So represent
nice.
where you're from. And we see a lot of people give those for gifts, or if you just want to have your candle to say, hey, I'm from St. Anna or I'm from St. Mary. And then our other collection, or latest collection that one came about by total accident. And this is our mystery collection. And my mom, she heads up our production of our candles. So she was pouring a batch one day and just somehow mismatched which scent was going where. And the candles came out really nice. They smelled really good, but we had no idea what scents were in those. So we kept creating those candles. And then we polled our audience to see what types of fun quotes they would like to see on the candles. So we had a number of submissions that came in through that. So we created the fun scents and we polled the audience for the labels, and those are pretty fun too.
That would be a lot of fun. It's like, I don't know, mystery. You never know what's in it.
You never know. You never know. You never know.
So how do you handle marketing? Because even with me, like I rather do the actual, like I do the work, right? And I know a lot of people rather actually do the work. Even my husband also ran his own company for a lot of years. He loved doing the work, but when it came to marketing himself and even billing, he'd go up. So how do you handle the marketing and the real business side of this versus the production of the candles?
That's actually the part that I find most fun. The marketing bit for me is where it's the part that lights me up. That's the part that, you know how they say as entrepreneurs, you have those really rough days where you're not into it. I don't like this business anymore. I feel like whenever I have those days, the marketing piece is the part that I could still do, even if I'm not at my best.
Your best,
yeah. And I think that's because I am a part of my brand. I feel like I am my brand. And it's really just, highlighting the parts of me that we're sharing through these scents and on the different platforms that, our audience hang out the most. And that's been working for us over the years. We do a lot of social, a lot of our marketing is on social media. We are not a huge company. We do not have a huge marketing budget. So
it's usually a team of one
Yes. So there's like no marketing budget floating around that I could pull this from and pull that from. So it's a lot of social that we do rely on. So for us, really works is our Instagram or TikTok, um, and our email list. And that's one of the things that I am so happy that I started early on with, is building that email list and talking to our customers through our email list. And I find a lot of us as small business owners, sometimes we usually run to the socials first and
Mhm.
ignoring the email list. But at the end of the day, you own your email list, you don't own social media, right? So I started doing that from very early on. I didn't do it as well as I should have, but it was a start. I had that baseline. So over the years, I've kept up with that email list and just growing it as we grew.
Right. How do you balance? How do you create balance with all of this with you and your family? How do you create that? I know the family is part of the business, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also, and again, I think as women, I don't know whether it's in our DNA, but to do. So we take
Yeah.
care of everybody and we forget about ourselves. And how do you manage that, balance the family and then your own self-care?
I don't think, well, I haven't found that balance yet. Let's say that. I feel like for me, everything is mushed, everything crosses path.
Mhm.
Um, Everything is kind of mushed. I am not the best when it comes to balancing all the things. I do all the things. But I feel like when people ask me like what's the do you have a balance? It's like, oh, do you do this at a certain time or do you do this at a certain time? I don't. I do it when it needs to get done. Half the time I have no idea how I pull through all the things that I do. But again,
Okay.
that's I guess that's the woman, the how we function. But if there is someone out there that can help me balance all the things, I am all ears.
I don't think we stop though. People always tell me
Yeah,
you hear it all the time. You need to take care of yourself. I think about my mother and all the things that she was able to accomplish. I think about my grandmother and
yeah,
those women having less, having I wouldn't say having less necessarily, but certainly the technology wasn't there when they were doing, right? And the
yeah.
way they were able to maneuver on islands, which not necessarily as much as they may have had, but not all the things that in first world countries you may have had, and they were able to be successful in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think for me, and I look at that, and other women, other Caribbean women, not just St. Lucian, but other women, and seeing how they were able to maneuver and just simply do, whether
Yeah.
that's good or bad. Um, and I've been thinking a lot about my mom lately, who passed away in
Sorry to hear
2021,
that.
yeah, in the height of COVID. So I'm always thinking about as I go through my business, as I evolve, as this evolves after all these years, what's next and what would mom have done? And just trying to take lessons from how she evolved, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
through
Mm-hmm.
her years being here and just deciding, oh, I've had enough of this. So I'm going
Yeah.
to go over here and do that and what that looks like. What what advice would you give other female, or I would rather say Caribbean entrepreneurs starting on any journey? What advice would you give?
I would say go with what makes you happy. Do the things that you find brings you joy. And I say that a lot to people because I feel like, well, probably all Caribbean children grew up with their parents saying, hey, you got to be a lawyer, doctor, a nurse, or a teacher. Understandably, I understand why they would say that.
Engineer, I have to add the engineer
And
too.
yes, and the
The engineer,
engineer.
because we need
Um,
builders of the roads and the houses and the architects.
Yeah. So you kind of you grow up hearing that and oftentimes probably pushing aside that one thing that you really, really love doing. But because mom said you're gonna be a doctor, you've gotta be a doctor, and they're sending you to school. So hey, you gotta you gotta do what they're paying for. But never lose that passion, never lose that one thing that you really enjoy doing. Because for me, something as simple as a candle, like nobody leaves school to go make candles, right? But candles have taken me to so many rooms, so many places that you would have never imagined. My candles have been all over the world pretty much. We've sold in stores in Africa, like you wouldn't have thought. We have sold in stores all over the US in Michael's from a little candle. So you never know where that passion can take you. Get that education still, but at some point, if that passion is really what's biting at you, give it a try, at least give it a try.
Yeah, I think for us, again, I mean, just not only Caribbean people, but the entire African diaspora, it's about those traditional, I would say, those traditional fields that the colonizers imposed on us
Mm-hmm.
versus thinking about the arts and creativity and all of
Yeah.
that, and how we haven't, as an entire region, put a lot of emphasis in that. In the last 20 years, it has absolutely and certainly has changed. You've
Mm-hmm.
got,
Mm-hmm.
people are no longer just simply seamstresses, they're designers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is certainly changing. And the arts, I mean, dance and music has always been a huge part of us. And so,
Yeah.
we've just had, this last year, Grammys, a St. Lucian young man won for production. I can't remember what R&B artist that he was on. So it was like, and it was really great for us because, people don't think about that. They don't think
Yeah.
about the other aspects of the creative world, not just
Mm-hmm.
being the singer in front, but what happens with
Yeah.
all of that production.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you. But
Absolutely.
what is your favorite candle? In fact, that you just said your candles have been in Michael's and all over, even in
Yeah.
Africa. What is your favorite scent and why?
My favorite scent is Island Vibes, and that was the very first scent that I created in my garage. And it's close
Mm.
and dear to me. It's super fruity, and it reminds me of home. It reminds me of me being a little girl, just running up and down on the beaches, just hanging out with my cousins, and just having fun. It's that candle that makes me want to have fun. It's happy. The scent is just vibrant, and it just brings you alive.
I could see that. Funny you would say that because I think as soon as you said running around the beach with your cousins, I just I was transported to exactly that.
Beautiful.
Exactly that.
Beautiful.
On a Sunday
Yes. Yep.
afternoon after
Mm-hmm.
lunch, everybody's going to be there and we
Uh-huh.
all gather, sometimes even going way ahead of your parents
Oh yes. Oh
before.
yeah. Oh
What,
yes.
but what has been the most challenging moment as an entrepreneur so far?
For me, I think just the whole, it's a lot. Entrepreneurship is a lot. You are wearing all the hats. And for me, I have become so used to just going, 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 going and not slowing down. And I felt like I've hit, I think this was last year, then I really felt like I'd hit a point where I'm like, I'm crashing. I've
Mm.
been doing this for years, just going, not even thinking of slowing down. And I finally just crashed. I'm like, I need a break. So just doing all the things, juggling all the different aspects of business and learning all the things, because that's a big part of entrepreneurship. I mean, I
Yeah.
went to school for business, and starting a business and going to business school, it's two different worlds. Two different worlds. So you will be learning on the fly and you have to keep up. If you cannot keep up, you will not move forward. And that takes a lot of brain work. That takes
Yeah.
a lot of brain work. I feel like that has been a big challenge for me, and I think the crash kind of reset me a bit. So I'm trying to take more breaks when I need to, instead of just going on overdrive all the time.
So the next question was going to ask you, how do you stay motivated during these hard times, right? Because you crashed, what motivated you to continue? How do you stay motivated when that happens?
When I'm in those down moments and I get a big corporate order, that's enough motivation to get up and go. A company comes in and say, "Hey, can we get 1,000 candles in 1 week?" I'm like, "Yes, you can." But
I
that
hear you.
really does. That really does. Like it will get you out of a funk real quick.
I hear you. I'm that way too. It's like sometimes I feel like, okay, gone through an election cycle, which has been awful and really hard, and
Hmm.
and then, he's like, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. And then
Yeah,
within that, the very next cycle, it's like you get some really exciting candidates, and they're gonna, and just the right person. And then the check comes, so you're like, okay, we're good.
we can do this. That's the motivation you needed all this time.
Ooh, yes, 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 absolutely. Right.
Oh my God.
Can you think of, do you think that how does being a member of JAC, I shouldn't say, or any civic organization beside you, belong to any other organizations, and then in addition to that, I think organizations like this, it's great for networking, but
Mhm.
how is this beneficial to you and others?
I think this is very important for our community, in the sense that, for one, it's you're rallied around people that you're familiar with. And I find networking within the JAC organizations to be much more fun and not so uptight, because for one, you could talk how you talk, right? And you don't have to keep repeating yourself, telling people what you mean all the time. So there's that aspect of it. And just knowing that there is a community behind you that understands what you do, and the pride that comes with being a person from the Caribbean that's living here in America now, doing the things, knowing that we didn't have half the opportunities that we had back home, and now
Mhm.
we do, and we're all rallying in the same circle and can share that. If I need a doctor, I could, say, hey, I could refer you to someone I know in this, or in this network. So I think that's really valuable, and I really love that aspect of it.
Okay, can you give us a sneak peek of anything that's coming up exciting in your space, any new scents?
So we're launched for the candle bar. We have a new menu of fragrances that's being launched for the summer. So that's exciting. And you have to be at the candle bar to test those out. We also have some amazing, as I mentioned earlier, the Mother's Day brunch is coming up on Mother's Day. That's May 11th. And then we have the 420 event coming up next Sunday, at 3 p.m. at the candle bar.
Right. Well, one of the things I want to ask is I want you to repeat again where you're located.
So we're located at 1313 Connecticut Avenue. We're in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And Natural Annie Essentials, you can find us, our website is naturalannieessentials.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Natural Annie Essentials.
Anywhere we could find your products besides coming to the candle bar?
You can find our candles in, Nature's Garden, Nature's Way in Stratford,
Okay.
and the Pious Bird in Black Rock.
Okay. Hmm. I haven't been to Black Rock in a while, but I haven't been there for a while, so that's
Okay.
good to know. Okay. So
Yes.
if anyone wants to book an event, we just simply go to your website, right?
Yes, if you want to book an event, you directly go to the website. There is an inquiry form, that you fill out, and we take it from there. Or you could give us a call. If you also need a tour of the studio space, you could come on in and get a tour. If you have like an upcoming event, that you would like a space. And the beauty about our space is that there's not much for you to do, because putting together an event is enough work, and having to show up and decorate and get tables and chairs and all that stuff. All the tables and chairs, they're there. Photo stations, they're there. It's decorated. You can add additional decor if you'd like. But all that is already done for you. So all you need to do is show up with your food, your people, and have a good time.
So I do have a couple of events coming up, so I will definitely personally check it out.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
because we have in light of what is going on in our world, um, I'm trying to a lot of people have reached out and wanting together, in particular Black women wanting to get together in
Mm-hmm.
the political space. So I've been thinking of what can we do relaxing and not
Yeah,
so heavy,
yeah.
especially for the elected. So uh,
And while candle making is, and the event space is what we primarily do, we do host like monthly, and this is free of cost, free monthly networking events. And also there's a monthly silent book club that we host there too. So if you
Great.
just wanted to come out and hang out, relax, meet some new people, that's available too.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Are there any other? I don't see any other questions from our chat. So, Craig.
Okay.
All right. All right. Christine, thank you so much for facilitating. Annie, thank you so much for bringing us on this journey, this candle making journey.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and looking forward for some more wonderful scents. Um, Thank you for sharing that website with us and your
Yes,
locations. Hopefully, people that heard will definitely come out and support, come out and visit the Candle Bar, and also the event space, so that
yes,
they could definitely use for any social gatherings. Um,
absolutely.
Again, these ladies are members of JAC, Jamaican American Connection. We're a very wonderful organization. We have talented people, as you can see. Please reach out to us, www.jacknewhaven.org. Thank you so much for joining in. Again, continue to like and share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jack New Haven, and stay tuned for our next community conversations. Thank you for joining us on Glow with the Flow with our personal focus, Annya White-Brown, owner of Natural Annie Essentials, Candle Bar and Event Space. Christine, thank you again for hosting. Everyone, I hope you have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I have one suggestion?
Sure.
You could make you could think about a scent for every island. So at the next Jack Gala, you could put
Mm.
different, we should name tables and just have a scent for
Island,
every island.
every island.
Yeah.
Right.
Every island, maybe the members of Jack. I know they're well, me and Jill, my actually family, and then there are other islands. There's Dominica, there's St. Lucia, there's Trinidad, could think about that.
Hmm.
But just a
Okay.
suggestion, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Something to think about, something to think
Hmm.
about. We could
Absolutely.
brainstorm.
Absolutely.
I just
All
want a
right.
candle saying St. Lucia, that's all.
I figured.
All right,
Thank
All
you
ladies.
guys
right.
so much. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
I thank you guys. This was fun.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.